Hello, everyone, and welcome to Drinks with Friends. I have a very special guest with us today. Her name is Tanya, and she's all the way from Czech Republic, and she is an expert in life health coach. And we connected probably more than 12 months ago because we were talking. I think it was even through a group of gluten-free or something. It was like a health group, and we just connected because of our health journeys that we're currently on. And we started chatting and we've been connected since. And I wanted to bring her on because one, she has just completely transformed her health from being very ill to an amazing health, and is now helping others do the same on a global scale, not just even in her local area, but a global scale. So I wanted to bring her on so she can share her expertise and hopefully give you guys a little bit of information to start improving your health, because that's what this podcast is all about. So thank you so much, Tanya, for coming on today. And tell us a little bit about yourself. Why did you become a health coach?
Thank you, Amy, for having me. Well, it's a really long story, but basically, ever since I was very little, I spent so much time in hospitals and being sick and having all sorts of health issues. You know how you have distant learning at universities? Well, my mom says that I had distant learning already in kindergartens or at preschools and everything. So that's how my life was. And it was not very comfortable, but I had nothing to compare it with. But then around 13, apart from all the allergies and frequent colds and flus, which kept me home all the time and separated me from other people, I developed like really severe asthma. And I was getting these asthma attacks. And one day I needed to take my inhaler, and my heart started to beat like crazy. And the only thing I could think of is that every time my grandmother's heartbeat beats like that, she has to go to hospital. And I was like, I was maybe 13 or 14 years old, maximum 15. I'm not sure really. It's like a long time ago. I was so scared, and I was like, okay, I am young. How can I have something that my grandmother has? And I knew it was after the inhaler. So I went to see my doctor, and I told her, I took the spray because I had an asthma attack. I couldn't breathe, but this is what happened. And she said, that there is no way this would have happened. It's not true. And we are giving it even to people with heart diseases. It's not true.
Yeah.
So I came home, this teenager who knew nothing, and I read the leaflet, in the packaging. And it said that common side effects like frequent heart beating and report it to your doctor. I was like, okay, and that was like a punch in my face, because at that time I knew I had health issues, and I believed my mom, and I believed all my therapists and doctors and wherever she took me, because she was trying all sorts of things with me. But I realized that, I have to depend especially on myself, and I have to be the one who looks for things and who checks things and who searches. But I never wanted to experience that again. So there was this like really strong determination, as I said, around 14 or so, I'm not sure. And I just knew I had to do something. So I started experimenting. And about a year later, I went to the United States. I learned English. So a lot more resources opened up, and I kept looking for ways. I just knew that I never wanted to experience that. And and then I was on and off, a little bit successful, but still my health was not so good. And then I got married, and then I had kids, and I had another mission. I didn't want the kids to be like me because childhood was just, not something you wish for any child. And so I started to study about nutrition and epigenetics and what we can do to influence our health and to influence that the genes will not activate. Because I know that most likely there's like 80% chance that all these allergies and asthma, when one of the parents have it, that it occurs in the child. So it's like a big percentage. So I was looking for all sorts of like nutritional interventions Of course, lifestyle, but lifestyle is a little bit more complex because the child has some personality, and you are basically both learning how to work with that, because you don't know that what will develop, right? With the So I kept studying all these things, books, and at the same time still trying therapies for myself.
Yeah.
But if something worked, it was just temporary always, and it was just not so good until 2018. And well, 2018 is basically based on what we met, because I discovered the things which are now like, it's called a balance concept, and it's what I am now spreading all around the world, because I work with nutritionists and coaches all around the world. And that was the amazing piece of puzzle that was missing in everything I was trying. With the kids, it went like this. It shifted everything. And with myself, I was like, well, I'm now as healthy as I have never been all my life. And it took about a year, maybe not even that, since I started changing this nutritional discrepancy, I would say. Most of us actually have. But in me, combined with the other things, then it worked. And now I can say that I am like healthier than most of my peers. They don't like to hear that, but it's true. And then based on that, I can finally do also other things which I couldn't do because I couldn't do any sports. I mean, every time I tried something, I would end up with sore throat or cold or, lying for a week for a reason. So that's my journey in a few minutes. It took 20 years, actually 28 years before it changed.
It is incredible, our journeys, and that's how we connected, because we both experienced the medical world at a very young age. Most of my listeners know, or if you're new to the show, I've got a rare muscular dystrophy, super rare, to the point where I wasn't even diagnosed. It didn't even have a name until I was 14 years old. So, and even since then, I've been pretty much self-managed since, because it is so rare and they just don't know. There's so many different versions of it and stuff like that. So I haven't even physically met. So I've met people online, and that's the beauty. The amazing thing of online is that you can meet people all around the world. But yes, and my health journey is continuous. It's constant. But I was like yourself. I was like, I'm not accepting me feeling so bad all the time, always having bad asthma, I can't breathe, always getting sick, always missing out because I was sick. So I did my own research as well, and still doing, and I have now an amazing naturopath, and so I've really gone into alternative therapies now. I still have my Western or medical people as well, but I'm very much on energy and the physical makeup of the body and all that sort of stuff, and diet is absolutely key to everything. And your healthy life balance, or healthy balance, what exactly is that?
Well, everyone knows diet is important because we eat every day, right? So what we put in our body, it's like in a car, right? If you put a bad gas, then the performance of the motor will not be so good. So it's similar that way. And I know a lot about diet and how it should look like, and but I still didn't have everything right because of what happened with our diet through the evolution. We basically, since the 1960s, when we tried to feed the whole world, we changed the whole food chain, not in a way that we would have like everything different, but basically the same things, such as flour or, I don't know, eggs, meat, milk, it doesn't matter. It looks the same, it has the same name, but it has totally different fat composition. And
Yes.
people don't know that. Apart from that, we basically, historically, with one exception, which is the olive oil, we didn't use plant oils because we could produce them, but because we couldn't refine them, they would just, oxidize too quickly.
Yeah.
So we had them very little in our diet. We would have the seeds, yes, but in the seeds you have a lot of mixed substances.
Yes.
And but we wouldn't be using just the vegetable oils. And now everyone uses vegetable oils, even stories, margarines. I hope now everyone who watches you, those are like the more qualified audience. I hope those people know that margarines are not so good. But the same goes for vegetable oils. And what people know the least is sometimes they even know that vegetable oils, even sunflower oils, which I don't know about Australia, but in our country, it still has really sexy marketing. Sunflower oil has, I mean, for example, potato chips, if they are with sunflower oils, it's another reason for the marketing message. It makes them more attractive. So it's not only that, because that we see, and part of the people, they are informed about it. What they don't know that even in the animal part of foods, they have the same type of fats, and they are called omega-6 fatty acids. Omega-3s are a lot more famous. Everyone knows omega-3s are important.
Yes.
And omega-6s are as important. The problem is we have huge excess in the diet.
Yeah.
And omega-6s are pro-inflammatory, which sounds scary, but really it's not, because acute inflammation is a healthy thing. Without inflammation, our body would not function. We would just die. If we cut ourselves and we wouldn't have inflammation, we would bleed out. And so it is healthy to an extent. It's not healthy when there is too much. Yeah.
And I definitely don't too much.
Yeah. And see, everything in life is about balance. It's also about food. It's about mind. People don't need to become Buddhas to be healthy, right? Not everyone is Dalai Lama to be able to manage all the things. So we need some balance, and it goes for mindfulness and for all the techniques we do. It doesn't have to be 100% of the time. And it goes for the fatty acids as well. And what people don't know is that the omega-6s should be pretty much equal with the omega-3s.
Yes.
And that brings on a problem, because not everyone eats cold water fish, and only cold water fish has sufficiently high levels of omega-3s. So, for example, if someone likes fried cod, it wouldn't do anything. Well, okay, it would have some, but really minor substance.
Yeah.
And the least thing that is known to people is that in our body, when we eat, these two compete all the time, and there is the same enzyme who we need to absorb them. So when they compete, and we have, for example, I don't know, we would have like fried salmon. Okay, it's usually we don't fry salmon, but if we did, and we would fry it in sunflower oil or soybean oil, even worse, then we do have a source of omega-3s, but we have a huge source of omega-6s as well. And the overall balance in the end is in favor of omega-6s, and that happens at every single moment. And at every single moment, we develop new cells which need both of these fatty acids, So it's becoming a huge problem. And what's I thought the first time I Googled it, when I was starting to experience changes and I couldn't believe what's going on, I found research from 2020. It was, no, 2020, 2002. And it was so interesting because it was putting this omega-6 to 3 ratio. It was making a link between cancers like breast cancer, colorectal cancer, arthritis, like things which I just thought were civilization diseases we can't deal with. So it's like, this is hugely important. But about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I met this scientist from Canada, and she told me that this fatty acid balance was linked to cystic fibrosis already in the 60s of the last century.
Wow.
It's like a huge thing, you know. So I
Yeah.
think now the time is that everyone should learn about it, and they should learn what to do,
Mm-hmm.
because maybe they are not as sick as you and me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
eventually, there is going to be a link to how they age, how they grow old, and how their future life would look like, or perhaps they want to have kids. And
Yeah.
there, that's a catastrophe. We don't want to share that. It would be too pessimistic, this podcast.
Yeah. 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 So with the omega-6 and omega-3 imbalance, do you think that's because of the modern day diet, how we have a lot more processed foods and a lot more convenient foods and not enough of the and modified foods as well? Like we have a lot of modified or genetically modified plants now and all that sort of stuff. So do you think that is the reason why? Because I know when we've spoken before that diets years and years and years ago, we didn't have this issue. And I know definitely certain cultures, especially like the Mediterranean diet, is very balanced because they have that high omega-3 to omega-6 balance, and they eat a lot of olive oil and cold water fish and all those sorts of things. But I think it's more like the Western world of like the UK, Australia, US, probably even Canada, probably does have a high ratio of omega-6 compared to omega-3 in their diet. And that probably is, like you said, linked to a lot of health issues that they don't even know about, which can be very simply rectified by just changing their diet and including that. So do you think the modern day diet is probably the main cause of this big imbalance?
It's a good question, because it's mainly, but not
Yeah.
only. It's again the balance. But
Yeah.
I want to change one thing. You know, today's Italy is just as bad as most of Europe, you know.
Oh, okay.
And even I was at this medical conference last week, and they said that according to WHO, as of I think January 2023,
Mm-hmm.
WHO said that there is no more such a thing as Mediterranean diet,
Ah.
because they don't have a good diet any longer,
Oh,
you know.
no.
And apparently, the closest to that is the diet of Swedish children, which is interesting. But in Scandinavia,
Okay.
they have a lot of cold water fish,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this balance concept, which I am spreading around the world and teaching. Even doctors, like Saturday, we have a seminar with 6 doctors from Mexico, uh,
Mm-hmm.
to how to work with it and how to help people via this concept.
Yeah.
This comes from Scandinavia. Actually, it was
Ah.
invented there as it
Yeah.
is. So why I said it was just partly true. Part of the
Mhm.
equation, well, most of it is the diet, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's very difficult to find. Even when you don't use any processed food,
Mm-hmm.
it's very hard to find food which is, like, I would say, clean, or which
Yeah.
has the right balances of the fatty acids naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, as for meat and milk, you need everything from grass-fed cattle, and
Yeah.
grass-fed hens and chickens and so on. That
Mm-hmm.
works. The moment you feed them with seeds, see, that's the thing. That's the industrialization of agriculture.
Yeah.
Before, they would have the hens out somewhere in the grass eating
Yeah.
whatever they find. The moment you want them to grow fast, and you feed them seeds which have a lot of fat, but it's the omega-6 fats, they can't
Yes.
move much, so they don't burn it. The omega-6 stays inside. Then even
Mhm.
that hen has a lot more omega-6. And normally, eggs are a rich source of omega-3 fatty acids, of the good ones, of
Yes.
the long chain
Yeah.
ones, because not all omega-3s are equal.
Mm-hmm.
but that would be when you have a hen which really lives outside, eats grass, and that hen would have eggs, which would have which would be a really good source of omega-3 fatty acids.
Yeah.
So it's, even when you don't eat processed, it's extremely hard. But another part is that we don't move.
Exercise. Yeah.
This is what connects us as well. I mean, diet is a lot, but I like holistic approach. I mean, if you have a perfect diet and you're stressed all the time, okay, but how will you digest the perfect diet when you're stressed? You won't,
Yeah.
And with exercise, it's the same. We have washing machine to do the laundry. We have dishwasher to do our dishes. We don't do much physical work. We go everywhere by car. And if people go to some fitness center twice a week, it's not enough. And formerly, people would have to cook their own meals, and they would have so much physical work doing minor things at home. But added up together, it would make for the fitness center. And walking, people used to walk 5 to 10 miles per day just to go to work, do their shopping, which was a small shopping because they wouldn't take a car, right? Not bulk shopping like we do today. So this is another part of it, because when we are physically active, we burn the fats, including omega-6s.
Yes.
So diet is 80-90%, yes,
Yes.
but it's not everything. And the people who are more active, they basically would be safer because, not overactive, because too much sport leads to inflammation as well.
Yes.
And then you're more likely to get into chronic inflammation. But physically, like moderate exercise or really walking every day. I know you have dogs, so that's like perfect. I advise that to my clients, if they have dogs, then, there is no excuse, you have to go, right? so that's a big help. So diet is a lot, but it's never everything. We need to go larger than that.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head with the whole holistic thing, because you're right. If you've got the perfect diet but you're stressed out, and it's going to be counterintuitive, because all it's going to be doing is increasing your inflammation levels and all that. So your body won't absorb. Your stomach will be stressed, and your body won't absorb the nutrients that you're providing it. So it's kind of, sort of, in a way, kind of pointless if you don't have that balance, which is just like, I think even with exercise as well, a lot of people think, okay, I'll go to the gym 3 times a week, and I'm just going to absolutely work out to the point where I'm just about falling over. And that's good because I've done my exercise. No, actually it's not, because you're overdoing it. You're going into that stress mode. You're putting your body into stress or into chronic inflammation, which is just going to completely throw everything out. So yeah, you're right. Walking is one of the best things. My chiropractor and physio, because I have a team of people, say that walking's some of the best exercise, and doing walking outside's the best. But if you can't, walk on a treadmill, if you're in a place where it's bad weather all the time or whatever, or you don't feel safe to walk around, that's fine. Walk on a treadmill. Or dancing, so free movements. Dancing's another great way to exercise. Not only is it fun, you have a good time, so you reduce your stress levels straight away, and you're listening to music, also another great way to reduce stress. So you're moving and you're having fun. So it's, instead of we say flogging here, so basically wearing yourself out to the point in exercise classes, it's just pointless. I'm one who's just learning to not overdo it. I'm still learning. I have especially parents that are very much just go constantly. My father in particular, he's just constantly overdoing it. And my parents were living with us for a few months while their house was getting finished building. And I just, now with this mind, like learning in this new evolution of my own health, I'm like looking at it going, oh, you're just putting yourself in more and more pain. And I can really see why you're in a lot of pain. Like, he doesn't eat a lot of omega-3 sources, and he definitely has a lot of omega-6, I can tell you that. And I'm just like, how simple it could be to reduce your pain, because he's in a lot of pain. He has a lot of fat. I've had arthritis in his neck and all that sort of stuff that causes quite significant pain. And it's like, oh, if you change your diet and change the way you exercise, that would reduce your pain significantly. But unfortunately, he's also very stubborn.
Yeah. See, what people don't realize is that every time they exercise, they are basically causing minor injuries to their muscles.
Especially weight.
Yeah, and that's okay, because that's how the muscle would develop and grow, and but there are these minor injuries.
Yeah.
And when they overdo it, there is a lot of those injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, then very often the next exercise has to be postponed if they really overdo it. But also, these minor injuries are sources of inflammation. And again, when it's little, it's okay, it's healthy, because that's how the muscle will then develop and grow. But if they overdo it, there is a lot of little injuries. Then that's even like a common sense. A lot of minor injuries are already not so good. And this is what happens with every exercise. And this is even more where the omega-6-3 ratio are really important to be in balance, because if they are in balance, then these injuries heal really fast. And then if you have like not your family, but like high performance athletes, they need a huge workload. They can't have just little exercise. They need a lot. But then if they suppress the inflammation by balancing their 6-3 ratio, then they can do a lot more physical training, and they can do it as frequently as they need. Sometimes we even see they increase the frequencies, because the body suddenly has the capability to heal it and to do it again. And we have like many who even add more trainings, because the body can do that. Our body is like amazing, and you and I, we are proof. It can heal so many things. And what I also like is what you said in the beginning. I am a big promoter of a combination of Western medicine with alternative medicine. And basically what I am doing now is like a newest research, only it's for some strange reason not applied by most of Western medicine practitioners, like doctors. And the nice thing is, it's because when we promote the natural healing forces of our body, then both the classical doctors as well as the alternative practitioners, they like that, because we're just helping the body to do what it can do. And everyone knows that at every age our body can heal. I mean, if you have a 90-year-old person and they cut themselves, it will heal, and it will do the same in a small child. And yes, in the small child it may go a little bit faster, but the point is that it will heal in everyone. So, and that's such a gift that we have, and should really nurture it. And we do it by how we treat our body, and that's what you and I teach people. And I like to say also that the nutrition, it very much influences also our mental health.
Oh, yes.
So in the beginning, I had a very simple explanation, which was from my life as well. Because, as I was in either late teenage years or then in my 20s, I met so many friends who taught me, it's like if you meditate, it's going to be okay. And it's just in your head and it's going to be fine. So I like to say, when you're suffocating and you can't breathe, how the heck should you meditate? It's just somehow, okay, maybe Dalai Lama could, I don't know, but it's extremely hard. And when my physical health improved, and that was at that point only via nutrition, I could get more physically active, and I could start doing this work, like more of the meditation work on myself. I have done like the last 2 years, which is, I mean, I've been well for the last 5 years or so, but the last 2 years I have done so much work in areas which I know before that would not be possible. Like I don't know, you probably know Joe Dispenza. I really like his techniques, although some people have a little simpler explanations than him. But the whole concept of what he teaches, or Bruce Lipton, it's just so amazing. But I know before it would have been impossible, and sometimes, I don't know if in Australia, but this omega-6 to 3 ratio, sometimes it really reaches wide audience via, like the Time magazine or things like that. And in my country, the first time I read the 6 to 3 ratio somewhere else than in the Scandinavian company from which I bought my first test to measure it, was in like a really popular magazine. And it was like one of the most famous psychiatrists of our country. And this was long before COVID, when everyone was linking COVID to mental health. And he basically wrote there that the 6 to 3 ratio is one of the main causes of the increase of depressions and anxieties. It's like, wow. So I went again and Googled, and then every time I did that, I would find so many things on PubMed, and my story, and then my clients, and then all these bits and pieces. It just makes you determined that you want to spread the info, because maybe people don't have a problem, but that's now because they don't see it. You don't see chronic inflammation. You only see the consequences, and the consequences can occur 10, 20, 30 years later, but we can prevent it, right? So I just thought this is worth, spreading the message.
And I think you're right. I definitely know from all my research and my expertise and stuff that if you're, and a lot of our mental health is linked through the psychology world and psychiatrist world, whatever you want to call it, neurosciences, they have proven that the gut and the mind are connected. So if the gut is off balance and not good, full of inflammation, all that kind of stuff, bad bacteria, all that sort of stuff, your mindset is going to be off balance. You're going to have anxiety. You're going to have depression. Most doctors and all, especially neuroscientists, will say that anxiety and depression are guaranteedly linked to your stomach. So if you're a person that has a really bad diet, mainly probably and I can definitely see the reason for the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, because they have balance that reduces the inflammation. Inflammation causes an imbalance in the gut, and then so forth. And it's just that snowball effect. It just keeps going on and on. With the omega-3, so for people that are listening now or watching our recording, I know you do, like your company that you represent, you do tests and you can figure out your ratio and all that sort of stuff, and you have products that help. But what if someone just wants to start incorporating in their diet more omega-3? What would you recommend? What part of their diet, like what should they introduce into their diet? Or what are the highest natural sources of omega-3? That's probably the better question.
Yeah. It's not easy. It's always good to look at both the sources of omega-6s and the sources of omega-3.
Yeah.
Because with the omega-3s, it's not so easy because of the fact that you have it in cold water fish.
Yes.
But the sea is today said to be really contaminated with mercury, microplastics, and so on.
Yeah.
So for many people, it's not recommended to eat it more than 2 to 3 times per week. And that's basically the richest source of omega-3s.
Yeah.
Secondly, if you have any options, it's more expensive. Yes, I know, but but all the animal produce use the from grass-fed
Yeah.
stock it's because that way it won't be loaded with omega-6s. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have plant sources of omega-3s. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is that most of the plant sources, with few exceptions, not just one, but one famous exception,
Yeah.
most of them are contain alpha-linoleic acid.
Yeah.
And alpha-linoleic acid, it's called like short-chained omega-3.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that omega-3s, the reason why it's so hugely important is that what people don't know is that it's in every cell of our body.
Yeah.
So in our cell, each of the cell has outside a membrane.
Yeah.
And the membrane is called phospholipid cell membrane. Lipid means fat.
Okay.
And in the membrane, we have cholesterol and we have many fatty acids, including omega-6s and omega-3.
Mm-hmm.
Every time something happens to us, the body takes either the sixes to start inflammation or the threes to stop the inflammation
Yeah.
from these cell membranes. That's why it has always enough everywhere in the body, because it's in every single of the trillions of cells we have in our body.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a lot we need. People think we need it for heart and brain. Yes,
Mm.
there we for brain we need a lot more omega-3s. It's true,
Yes. Yes.
but apart from that, we need it everywhere. In
Yeah.
just in every cell of our body. There is no cell which wouldn't need it because every cell has the membrane.
Yeah.
Second thing that happens is if you don't have enough, not only you create pro-inflammatory state in your body that the chronic inflammation easily grows.
Yeah.
Uh, but second thing, what happens is that the membranes become harder because omega-3s have like really loose bonds between them. So it's
Mm-hmm.
easier for oxygen or the nutrients to enter inside the cell. And then the cell
Yeah.
takes what it needs and releases it. And
Yeah.
again, if the body has enough omega-3s, it releases the toxins from the cell really easily. If it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have, it has tighter bonds, the membrane is less fluid, and basically the detoxification on individual cell level is more difficult.
Yeah.
So we really need it a lot and all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the plant sources of omega-3s have a limited capability to change into EPA and DHA, which are the two main fatty acids we need in our
Yeah.
body. And it has the limited capacity for our body to change it as it needs grows as grows our consumption of omega-6s. That's
Yeah.
how connected that is. So it's
Yeah.
really a chemical cocktail, and it's really complicated. So our ancestors who didn't have so much omega-6s, if they
Yeah.
just ate like walnuts, linseed, and chia seed or whatever, every
Mm-hmm.
country has their own sources, they would be okay because their body would change it. There wouldn't be the excess of sixes, and the process worked. And
Yeah.
again, it works a little bit better in women before
Mm-hmm.
menopause, I have to say, than it works in men.
Yeah.
So then you have plants, or then you need the EPA and DHA, which are in fish.
Mm-hmm.
It's in sea algae. But then again, how much sea algae can you consume? Because it's
Yeah.
like very light, right? So it's complicated. And it it is in certain wild grass.
Okay.
I don't know actually how that wild grass is called in English, but I think it may be even in more because I think that's maybe where the animals get it from when you have
Mm-hmm.
like grass-fed animals.
Yeah.
And the truth is that the animals need it as bad as we do. I mean,
Oh, yes.
we have a concept of supplementation, which prevents the omega-3 from oxidation, and people use it for dogs, for cats, and now we have a racing horse in this country who wins races, and they just give him tons of this balance oil. That's how the product is called. And I don't know how much they pay for that. But the thing is, the tissue would be working the same. The horse
Yeah.
has the same problem with inflammation, and the
Mhm.
granulated foods they make for either horses or cats and dogs, they're also
Yeah.
full of omega-6s. And
Yeah.
those animals also never had omega-6s, like when they were in the wild, or
Yeah.
even until the middle of last century.
Yeah.
So it's not easy without supplementation. And with supplementation, you need to measure it,
Mhm.
because most of the supplements have limited effect, very limited effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
They simply oxidize,
Mm.
because we don't make it the way our, when there was this period, I don't know if it was in Australia, we had it until 60s or 70s that kids at school were getting fish oil. Did you have anything like that? It was like a state policy, you
No,
know.
I don't know, and I'm definitely not in my sixties. No, I don't think we had that. I know because my mother's English. She remembers having being fed
Yeah,
cod liver oil at
yeah.
school. So yeah. So
See,
that
and
was
they say these people, we sometimes when they hear our when they come to a conference or something, then they are really scared of the fish oil because they remember this horrible taste. And that was because they took the fish, they would squeeze it, and they would basically get the oil. And it would
yeah,
be smelly, but it was effective.
yeah, yeah,
Because today they take the fish oil and they want to clean it, to get rid of the mercury and the microplastics and so on. The
yeah,
problem is that they also strip it of the antioxidants which naturally occur in the fish.
yeah,
So most of the supplements oxidize just as so they don't they don't actually reach the bloodstream, and then from the bloodstream the omega-3s are brought to our cells. So this
yeah.
oxidation is a process, and the
Mhm.
trick to change that is combine it with a really good quality olive oil,
Oh, yep, yep.
because that way you prevent the omega-3s from oxidation.
Okay.
And what you have to realize is that when from the time you consume the source of omega-3, if it's like a fish or supplement, doesn't matter, till the time
Yeah,
it reaches your bloodstream, it's about 20 hours. It's a long
yeah.
time.
Mm.
So you need the whole time the omega-3 to be protected, in a tight bond, because otherwise, if it gets loose, it starts the oxidative process,
Yeah.
and then it can even cause more inflammation in the body. So
Okay.
that's why it's important to measure it. And second thing is, you and I have metabolic disorders, and
Mhm.
then people like that very often, like for example with autoimmune conditions, they have
Mhm.
different fat metabolism.
Yeah.
So when you don't measure it, you don't know if the level is good enough. So
Mm.
what
Yes.
takes to other people 4 months took me 2 years
Yeah. Yeah.
to reach my levels.
Mm.
Because I have some autoimmune antibodies in my body. I can't do anything about that. They're just there
Yeah.
genetically.
Yeah.
And that means that my fat metabolism is a little bit more complicated than other people's.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't know. I mean, my health was already improving, but I wouldn't know without the test that I have, a much greater potential in improving even more. And that
Yeah.
happened after I checked my levels after 4 months, which is when your blood changes, when it makes sense to see if you're on the right track. And I wasn't, and I was so shocked because I was like, I feel so much better. What's going on? So I started Googling again, because at that time there wasn't anybody in my country who could explain to me what was going on. And then this was that I had these ANA antibodies, and that was the cause.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's very interesting, and I definitely understand about the whole cell thing, because my naturopath, she does live blood analysis. So she takes a drop of blood and she puts it on a microscope to see what exactly is going on. And because she teaches me what's going on and all that, I can instantly see before she even says what's going on, what's actually going on in my blood. And I can tell you, I was very sick probably about a month ago, and we did a blood test to see what was going on. And all my blood cells were stuck together. They were all bad shape, and and my body was completely in just toxic chaos. And so we, got the liver working, got the stomach going, and all that sort of stuff. And I've been back since, and it is improving, but slowly, because like you, I don't improve quickly, whereas someone who is probably of a healthy, that doesn't have a pre-existing medical condition, would improve significantly. With your plant base, you mentioned that the chia seeds, the walnuts, what is your because hemp oil is becoming a thing in the modern world at the moment. I know that there's a lot of research going into that. Is that something that the company that you represent is looking into, or are you just more sticking to the olive oil and all that sort of stuff?
There is a whole portfolio of really like state-of-the-art like products which have foods which represent food substances which mostly were formerly present in our diet, and they are not in the modern diet. So there is a really interesting approach to gut health. And I would say a lot more effective, because I have had so many people with all sorts of gut conditions who did so many expensive treatments, and suddenly this, which is only a nutritional intervention again, changed everything. And once I was doing an interview like with you, with an American doctor, and he said, I was dealing with leaky gut even before it was called leaky gut. And I can't think of, I don't understand why I haven't thought of that, that formulation, because it's just food substances. So it's different things. With the hemp oil, it has a lot of interesting properties. In terms of omega-3s, it's again the short chained omega-3, the one which our body cannot change. And I definitely think that people should not be like, doing just one thing. I think it's important to be interested in how your body is reacting to different things. And also, even when you decide for test-based supplementation, which is what we do, because supplementation, everyone writes about what you should take, but there can't be one size fits all. I'm less than 100 pounds, and when you have supplements, then usually from 12 years up, there is one dose for everyone. It's just even according to common sense, you don't have to be a scientist to see that this is absurd, right? So even when you're doing test-based nutrition, you shouldn't like eat junk. I tell that to my kids very, very often, because I have many children. 2 of them are teenagers now, and we sometimes get through these discussions that we have really good supplementation, they have really good tests, but that doesn't mean that they would eat like pigs. It's important. We are not a trash can. Our body is not a trash can. And what I also like to say, that we have the filtration organs. That's how I call them. I don't know if it's correct term in English, but like liver, kidneys, and everything. We have one pair per lifetime, and they do recover, but we shouldn't be too harsh on them, I would say. And there will be times, such as like when we are really sick, or when we get in a car accident or something, and that at that point we need chemical drugs as well, and they are really very hard burden for all these filtration organs. So I think we should really take good care of them, because these will be the points when we may need them. And the healthier they are, the better job they will do. I mean, how you treat somebody, that's how they just grow.
Yeah.
So I think people should look for variety. I think all these oils, the only tricky part is, I don't know if you've experienced that, but I have a lot of friends in this industry, and sometimes they buy like hemp oil and avocado oil and this and this and this.
Yeah.
I think then you can't use them up quickly enough, and there is a really huge risk of oxidation.
Yeah.
I think they should really decide, and then for a while try these things, see if there were properties they were looking for, if it did something for them,
Yeah.
but shouldn't have many at the same time, because they are still oils. And when we don't know them well enough, we may not recognize the early oxidation. You
Yeah.
recognize that in oils which you use on daily basis, because then you know the smell is not right.
Yeah.
And if it's something you don't use that often, then maybe it just lost a little bit of the odor, and that could be okay. But maybe it started to oxidize, and then it can harm you. So
Yeah.
I only say I love this sort of experimenting. I think we should have open mind, because every day we learn something new, and
Yeah.
our body is so complex, and we are all so different that there is no way we
Yes.
would ever know everything. So
Yeah.
people, especially if they have a condition that they need to, or performance which they want to improve or whatever, then it makes sense that they go. And for example, hemp oil is just like so interesting,
Yeah.
but we know that there is no herb which would fit to everyone.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I give you an example, like aloe vera. Everyone loves aloe vera.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything to me, any of it. No creams helped me when I had eczema. The juices from aloe vera would really nicely clean your intestines if you're the right person. It didn't do anything to me, just
Yeah.
nothing. And I love, for example, for minor injuries, I love tea tree oil, which comes from Australia.
Yeah.
And I had a friend, and they used for everything aloe vera, and it would do everything. And she said tea tree wouldn't do anything for us. So with the herbs, we have to know that it's never one herb would fit 100% of people. So it
Yes.
would be the same for the oil. So if there is an effect of the hemp seed oil, and you found a research, and then I think it's really well worth trying. But don't
Yeah.
do it with 5 different oils. Take one from one brand and use it up, because the fresher it is, the more
Yeah.
active substances it would have.
Yeah.
And because the freshness is the biggest concern with oils. There's so
Yeah.
many precious oils, but sometimes I'm even afraid, if I don't know, like the black cumin oil, for example. How would I recognize? I know it's a great thing, but it's hard when you buy it for the first time to know that you really got really nice cold pressed fresh oil, when you don't
Yeah.
know how it should really
Yeah.
look the right way.
Mm. Yeah, and you're right. I think you can get recommendations, you can do research, you can get assistance from health practitioners and stuff like that. But it's also what you feel. So you're right. Something that helps you doesn't necessarily help myself, and vice versa. But you do have to try. You do have to eliminate one at a time, not doing multiple things. I think your body just becomes overburdened when you try too many things at once. So yeah, I think the research for hemp oil is just going to keep going up and up and up. I know with I only have 3 children, so I had a son. Unfortunately, he passed away in April, and but he had a rare lymphoma, and he was diagnosed 3 years ago before he passed. And like when he was first diagnosed, the oncologists are like, he won't be here very long, 3 months, 6 months max, sort of thing. And I'm like, no, I know the anti-inflammatory diet works very well. high omega-3, all that sort of stuff, because of myself. I know that works. So that's what I did. I put both him and my daughter, his sister, on, and he lasted 3 years. And the oncologist said it was purely, it would have to be the fact that, yes, I put a lot of energy into him, and energy is a whole different subject, but his diet changed, helped him battle the cancer, but unfortunately didn't to the end. But you're right. The power of the body is incredible, and if you don't nourish the stomach, which is a filtration thing, liver as well, and your kidneys, or even your heart, to be honest, they're all filtration. They get every part of what you consume. So if you're consuming stuff that isn't good, you're not going to feel good. So vice versa, if you start consuming stuff that is really good for you, you're going to start feeling fantastic. So, and your mindset will be incredibly better as well. So unfortunately, we're running out of time, but it's been a very interesting subject. I from yourself and from my own research, knew a fair bit about omega-3, but you were at the next level, and I've just learned so much during this interview about the complex, like the difference with the chains and all that, because I do add a lot of chia seeds and hemp seeds in my diet, and we have a lot of salmon, but I have to admit, my fur babies, because we have another puppy, they get fish every night just about, so they have a much better diet. They get sardines and stuff.
That's the best thing you can do. I mean, I healed my parents-in-law dog with sardines long before I did this. He had trouble walking, and I bought plenty of canned sardines for them, because there weren't animal foods with well, it would have been too expensive. I was just like, give him sardines like that. And they started giving it to him like twice a week, and in a month he started walking normally.
Yeah.
So, and that was me using omega-3s long before I know this. But I would say the key message is please measure it, because without that, anything else you do, any herbal intervention, any even dietary change, you wouldn't be able to see the impact really, because they wouldn't be absorbing in your body so well. So that, and I do think it's the future, because I think the current healthcare system, with so many people having chronic disease, many of them multiple chronic diseases, who is going to pay for it? That's not going to last. It will have to become also individual responsibility. And second is, we are in charge of our future. I mean, what we do, the fact that you're alive, you're walking, you're not on a wheelchair, the fact that I'm not sick anymore. And there are many people like healed from histamine intolerance. That's incurable, right? Well, I got many like that, post-COVID, all of it. Again, inflammation and nutrient absorption. So if anyone tries to make a change in their health using any protocol, and their cell membranes will not be fluid, then part of their effort, or maybe all of it, I don't know, will be wasted. The supplement will end up in the toilet mostly, because the body just cannot take all of it. So they are wasting resources, and we have this, and it's available in many laboratories around the world, and from more companies. It's not the only one. Okay, I like it the most, of course, but it's not the only one. And anyone can do that. And it's going to save so much of, money and trouble and time and energy, everything, So that's my appeal. When you have the possibility, measure it, because it's your body and you have one for your lifetime. And how you treat it, that will serve you.
And you're 100% right. You've only got one body, so you need to treat it correctly. And if you're a person that isn't feeling well, or you're a person that's been like ourselves, been to a bazillion doctors and been told multiple things, and then eventually took our health into our own hands and found natural ways, and natural ways, we're not discrediting any medical professions or anything like that, but we're saying natural ways. There are so many ways our incredible body can heal itself. So let's be open-minded and do your own research and do what's best for yourself. Thank you so much for joining me. We've clocked over the hour mark. If you want more information about what Tanya has been talking about, the ratio, the omega-6, omega-3 ratio, I'll have in the show notes her links, and she'll be able to explain. I know she sent me ages ago a very informative YouTube clip, I think it was, about it. But she also, the company that she represents, does tests, and they sell particular products that have changed her life. And I know a few friends that I've done it, that I've met through, I'm pretty sure it was an anti-inflammatory group that we met through on Facebook. I'm pretty sure that was how I did it. And the members of there have tried the company that you represent method, and they've completely transformed their lives as well. So it's not something that one person's going, yes, it works. It's thousands of people across the world. So if you're a person that has tried multiple things, haven't quite found the right thing for you, and you want to try something natural, definitely look further into Tanya's stuff, and I'll have all that information in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining me today, Tanya, and I will, it's just been an absolute pleasure, and I've learned so much, so thank you so much for joining me. And thank you, audience, for coming and listening to us today. And remember, until next time, refill your glass and get your thirst back for life. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.